to shows.
Well, the nice thing about Luna Star was I didn't have to pay a sound man, because at this other place I had to pay the sound man. At the end of the day, he says, "Well, I get $20 for every show I do." Well, I only had 15 that came in. So I was joking. I just said, "So I owe you $5," and he goes, "Yeah." So it was a pay-to-play night that night.
So you mean the sound man gets paid more money than the entertainment?
He did.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, that was discouraging, I assume.
Well, it's an illness that I have to just play music. I'm going to do it whether I get paid or not. So, and you don't tell people that, but you hope that they'll just put something in your bucket.
Well, I'm going to find out more of what inspires you. But how about starting off with a song here?
All right. Well, this came from there's a gentleman. My father-in-law was building some guitars, and he knew a guy who was connected with the Gibson company a little bit, and he builds guitars, so they were doing something together, and he brought me over, and I saw this guitar he had. He was bringing out all these old vintage Gibsons, and one of them, he said, was at one time owned by Norman Blake. So I got inspired to write a song about that, so that's what this is, Norman Blake's guitar. Far back as I remember, there's music in my head. With a song upon her lips, my mama tucked this boy in bed. My daddy worked the steel mills, but he sure knew how to swing. If you could pick it, he could play it. All it needed was some strings. There were banjos, there were mandolins, there were ukuleles too. There were Martins, there were Gibsons, yeah, the ones from Kalamazoo. But of all the instruments I heard, the one I loved by far was the one I heard with Hartford. It was Norman Blake's guitar. Norman once played on a record with the Nitty-Gritty Band. Will the circle be unbroken? Gave more airplay to the band. And when Maybelle Carter, Vassar, and Mr. Akoff all are gone, with fingers flying and voices singing, Norman Blake plays on. Their banjos, mandolins, ukuleles too. There were Martins, there were Gibsons, yeah, the ones from Kalamazoo. But of all the instruments I heard, the one I loved by far was the one I heard with Hartford. It was Norman Blake's guitar. It was once in a vintage music shop when the strangest thing occurred. There was this man, guitar in hand, and without a single word, he started picking, started playing. And then I heard him say, "May you find the inspiration, son, to pick one up one day. I've played banjos, mandolins, ukuleles too. I played Martins, I played Gibsons, yeah, the ones from Kalamazoo. But of all the miles I've traveled near and far, the sweetest sound I ever heard was from Norman Blake's guitar. Oh, the sweetest sound I ever heard was Norman Blake's guitar."
Live in the WLRN studio, Ralston Bowles. That's a great song. Is that a new one?
It's relatively new. I got to play that song on Norman Blake's
on the guitar. So it's a true story.
So it is a true story.
And it's so nice to hear you, I guess, drop all those names of famous folk people that...
I got to meet Vassar. In fact, I think I met most of those people at one point.
Coming through Michigan?
Yeah, some of the festivals. I was able to play at Wheatland Festival, which is a really pretty decent festival. I mean, it's one of the premier festivals in Michigan for people to come through and play. So,
okay.
And they've given a nice slot for a lot of the singer-songwriters. There's a nice scene that is developed there.
Speaking of instruments, that sounds beautiful, that mandolin.
This is a 1906 Gibson F2 that my father left to me, and so it was sitting in my basement. I never played mandolin. Never really had an interest in it.